You could avoid this topic forever, and yet, inside yourself, you know that it will come back and make you wonder, who am I? What's the sensation of it not being the first time I'm alive? This is your consciousness trying to tell you that it's time to understand who you are. Everybody needs their time to understand, accept and admit that they had previous lives. But sooner or later, anyone seeking for spiritual awakening will have to deal with the truth about their past existences. Maybe you don't even know that you're looking for awakening. Maybe you found this article by chance, or because you were simply curious just because spiritual topics tickle your fantasy. Still, even if you don't understand the term, every time you try to understand who you are, what your past is, or what your hidden abilities are, you are seeking for awakening. Your rational mind tries to distance you from the study of past lives, making you think that all that can't be possible, that it must be a trick of your sensations, that you are wrong. There is a lot of proof, countless testimonies, but these are not enough for you to accept that you might have previous lives as well. Your thoughts distance you from seeking, but your instinct, a light but stubborn feeling inside you, takes over your body and pushes you towards the search for truth. Inside you know it, you feel it, because sometimes you think about yourself and say, I'm not only this, I am much more, I'm someone I can't remember who. But apparently you don't have any proof. To tell the truth, even if you had the proof in your hand, you wouldn't believe it until you'd start remembering your past lives with your own mind. Everyone could try to convince you, but nobody would succeed if you don't remember your past lives yourself. They could tell you about your past, or show you who you've been, but you will never understand this as the truth if you don't have these facts in your own memories. If you know how to recognize the truth from a dream and reality from a thought, then you will know how to distinguish real memories of past lives and to distinguish them from simple fantasies. But only if you remember them with the right practices that teach this fundamental difference from the beginning. We must be sincere from the start. Remembering past lives is not as easy as they say. That's because it's not a trip into a creative fantasy, but a practice that stimulates real memories and makes them arise in the present to allow you to remember and picture yourself in your previous body. When you start having signs of concrete memories that don't belong to this life, but lives that engage you, that marked you, allowing you to understand the origins of your traumas, of your fears, and also of your desires, goals, and passions of this life, then you will understand that your real birth was not 30 or 40 years ago, but you've been alive for at least 100 years. You just had to change physical body in the meantime. You don't remember anything because in the moment you were born inside of your new physical body, you had to go through a resetting process involving all your memories. That's why you can't remember your past lives if you don't stimulate your most evolved memories, the ones of your consciousness. At the time, as a person, you can totally remember what you lived in the present life, but if you train yourself to get to know the memories of your consciousness, what you really are, then you can have access to the information of all the reincarnations you lived and all their physical bodies. Memories of past lives will never be predictable because they will reveal information about yourself that by studying only the present life you will never understand. You possess past lives, lives where you've been a totally different person from who you are today, where you had another role and lived in an era far away from this one. You might have lived a life in ancient Egypt. Thus, thinking of Egypt, or by looking at the pyramids, you often get a feeling that you can't understand via your reason, but that push you to think that you know it very well, even though you don't understand why. Or maybe the total opposite happens. Egypt doesn't tell you anything, nothing at all, because you prefer a totally different era, like the 1800s for example. You don't know why, and you prefer to think that if past lives existed, you should like ancient Egypt too. That's not a correct way of thinking, because you might have had no reincarnations in Egypt, but in a totally different place, so you don't have a memory in Egypt to stimulate your memories. Therefore, it is normal that you don't feel anything by thinking about it, because you might not have a past life in that era or in that place, or maybe it's too hidden to evoke anything in you. You also think that it's a matter of fashion that people like ancient Egypt, and it evokes deep sensations only because it's a place with a lot of history and nothing more. Why would be people interested in that era otherwise? Why should so many people think they had an incarnation in Egypt? Is it possible that thousands of people speak the truth when they say they lived an incarnation in ancient Egypt? It's clear that there's no reason to believe the contrary. You're surely not the only person who had previous lives in other eras. So how could you think that in the millions of people that lived in ancient Egypt at that time, There's not at least a part of them that kept reincarnating until today. Remembering is not easy, but denying your past is not as useful. No one can make you understand how real reincarnation is, if not the practice to remember past lives through your higher memories, the ones of your consciousness, your higher self, your soul. Your consciousness often tries to push you into seeking the truth, into finding out your past identities. Therefore, to understand who you've really been before being born, with this appearance, this name, and this face, is this all you are? Is there nothing else about you that deserves to be discovered? I suggest that you read the book The Sigil of Past Lives in order to understand what your past lives are, the way in which they have influenced your present life, and how they keep influencing you in your daily choices. I promise it won't be a wasted read, and that you will be totally satisfied. You will find out why you don't remember anything about your past lives, but yet you have that sensation deep inside that makes you believe you are something else or somebody else, other than what you see in the mirror. Why would you have to believe to someone more than who you are today, more than the person that all your friends know, if there wasn't a much bigger truth beyond your gaze? Through the first and second volume, you will discover the connection that exists between you and all your past lives. You will be guided through practical techniques to remember what you have lived in previous times and to bring up memories that you have totally ignored, but that have always belonged to you. Also, you can experiment with envisioning the physical bodies you had in past lives, directly with your eyes open. You will find out what karma is, how it works, and how to free yourself from the negative karma that you're carrying along from past lives. You will find out about living beings from other dimensions through memories of past lives within totally different dimensions and in physical bodies that are not human. Later, you will find out of lifespans when you were only the soul, without necessarily having a physical body to incarnate into, and much more. If you want to find out about your real existence and your past lives, don't wait to learn and to practice the skills described in the book, because the path of past lives will be based exactly on that. In fact, in the next steps, the topic past lives will be carried over on the basis of the knowledge exposed in the Sigil of Past Lives. Get ready, because your past lives are too important for you to ignore for your whole existence. But it's up to you whether you shut down your instinct forever or finally decide to listen to it. Only in this way will you understand the reasons and the missions that led you to incarnate in this planet again in this life with many other souls that pursue the same mission. To learn more about us, you can visit our website www.dimensionalconsciousnessacademy.com. See you soon.